What's up, guys? Falcor here. And we can all agree that basic military training isn't super fun for anybody. And we can also all agree that every branch is going to have some kind of opinion about the other branch's BMT. All these aside, I want to say that I had a pretty decent time at BMT. It wasn't super hard for me because I was older when I went in, and it was a lot easier for me to listen to orders and to do those orders and to try to do it properly. And I was already in pretty good shape, so it was a little bit easier for me and a little unfair for the other guys, but that's fine. I want to give you guys a couple of funny stories that I did have some moments. I feel like every person that went through BMT had some moments that were either funny or terrifying. I had some of those moments. One of the first things that I remember from being in BMT was in lunch. It's a well-known fact that if you're at BMT, you get fed very well. You get three very large meals every single day at the same time. There is one part of your lunch and dinner that is like a no-no zone, or at least for some people, me, the end zone. This is going to be the dessert tray, right? I do not know for sure about the other branches, lunch and dinner, but I do at least know for the Air Force, they had a dessert tray. And this was well known that the dessert tray was sitting right in front of the bullpen. And this is the pen where all the MTIs are sitting and eating their lunch and staring you down, ready to roast you at any moment. The reason that it made it so scary, this dessert tray, was because there was a specific facing procedure and marching procedure that you had to do just to get it. You had to walk up, set your tray down, take a step, do a right face, step forward, take another step, and then very rigidly open the door, grab the dessert, close the door, and then do an about face, walk, and then turn left and sit it on your tray. At the time, we had not really learned, or at least practiced, our facing procedures very well, so it was obviously scary. Back in our little dorm rooms, we always talk about it, and we always joke around about who's going to get the dessert first. I just remember one day, it was so hot, because I went there in the middle of the summer. It was super hot, and I was like, I just ran 3.5 miles or 3 miles, whatever it was, and I'm going to get that dessert. So I did. I walked up, I did my procedure accurately. Keep in mind, I was kind of sweating a little bit because I just did not want to get roasted in front of everybody at lunch. But I got my dessert, I did my about face, I made a little left turn, I dropped my dessert on my tray, and I remember walking and trying to hide the smile because I had a couple of buddies of mine that I had already made. I remember we went back to our dorms, and of course everybody's chatting about how I was the first one to get desserts. Soon after this, obviously other people started catching on, and it was like a repetitive thing. So I definitely want to say that I was the leader when it came to getting that dessert, so I got it first. But it was just a funny moment, and for a lot of people that were there, it's just funny to see somebody struggling, or at least being the first person to get the dessert. The second thing that I remember very vividly was me unintentionally becoming the guidon bearer. So we were struggling pretty hard for our flight to have a good guidon bearer. So anybody who has ever been one in BMT or is even one today, you gotta understand that it's a little bit different, obviously, and there's a little bit more steps, and the timing's different, and we were trying to figure it out. Our MTI was swapping guidon bearers left and right. I think we changed guidon bearers at least twice a week for the first 2 weeks. We couldn't figure it out. I just remember I had done something and it caught my MTI's eye, so he put me on the guidon, and I ended up being the guidon. Just so you know, this is what a guidon looks like. Not gonna lie, that's me, and I look badass in this photo, okay? One of my strongest memories from BMT was when I was the guidon bearer, and I made one wrong and terrible mistake. I touched a female's shoulder. Let me explain. Before I was in the military, I was a bartender server. And one of the things that we kind of learned as a bartender server is that when you're going in or out of the kitchen, a lot of the times, you might not be able to say anything, but you need to make sure that you're not behind somebody with a tray, or somebody doesn't turn around with a tray and clock you in the face, right? It got to a habit for a lot of us to kind of put your hand on the shoulder to let someone know that you're behind them so they don't just abruptly turn around. Fast forward, this did not play very well in the military. My flight was having to cross one way while our sister flight essentially was crossing the other way, and they had to cross in front of us. One thing some people do remember is that you're not supposed to speak out of line. So I was in my head, don't speak, don't say anything, right? I didn't want to say anything, so instinct said, touch her on the shoulder. Oh my God. The moment I touched this person to allow them to know that I was behind them, I can hear their MTI foot stomping from 30 feet away, yelling out, "Trainee!" I knew almost immediately that they were coming toward me. So I stopped, my whole flight stops, and they pull me aside and just start roasting me in front of everybody. And I mean, like, it was not a subtle, it was a absolute spit flying like yell. And this guy was about 5'4", but he was built like a tank. So it was still very intimidating to have this dude like all up in my face and yelling at me. More of the story, don't touch anybody in BMT. Don't touch anybody at all. Not even if it's an accident, you better hope nobody sees it. Trust me. So those are definitely some of the moments that stood out the most in BMT. I definitely have a few more, and as long as it has been, I still like start remembering a few things that happened in BMT. So what do you guys think? You guys tell me if you've been through BMT. It doesn't matter if it's Air Force, Navy, Army, it doesn't matter. Let me know in the comments, you guys, and tell me what you did or what you saw at least, or some kind of experience that you had while you in BMT. So that's all for today, guys. I'll have some more stories coming out about my military experience. We've kind of reached the BMT era, and we're moving on to tech school and on from here on out, and it just gets a little bit more spicier as it goes on. I love you guys. See you on the next video. Falcor out. See.